Okay, hold on a second.
All right, I got you.
All right, I'm not in the studio this time. I'm in the house, so I have to lock my doors so the kids won't come in.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
Cool.
so
Cool.
you gonna stream live?
Yeah. It's live now. As we clear our throat.
Oh, okay, but you can always
Yeah, we can
cut
always.
off the beginning.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, listen, man, definitely appreciate you doing this again. I was telling everybody, I said only twice in my 10-year career have I recorded something and not gotten the other end. It was the very first time I did it, and of course, with you guys' interview. So I definitely appreciate your time and coming back so soon to allow us to capture some moments in your life. Of course, since we already did the interview, a lot of the questions I already have the answers to. So I'm gonna kind of start in a different order. Number one, I got your book on audio,
Okay,
um, and I listened to the excerpt that you did for Amazon when you put that up. So I can't wait
okay.
to dig into that. Wonder why I just purchased that today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I listened
Appreciate
to
it.
both versions of that. So you're jamming. And if you guys don't know who I'm talking to right now, we're back on the line with Mr. Quamon Fowler of Texas Tenor Music
Music.
Academy. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
yes, sir. Out of Texas. He's a musician. And kind of what resonated with me with him is in one of his interviews with Dr. Thunder, he said he was visually impaired. And you guys who know me know we have to capture those stories just to kind of get a glimpse into what individuals with a disability or an impairment or just a different ability in life has and how they overcame and how they went through and are doing the things that we do. So Kuman is a instrumentalist. He's a saxophonist. He's a father. He's a husband, brother, and to my knowledge, just an all-around great guy. So you guys, welcome back to the show, Mr. Kuman Fowler. Um,
Thank you.
yes, sir.
Appreciate you for having me,
Again,
Sean. Again, yeah.
yeah, no doubt, man. So let's jump into it. The first question I asked you on the last interview was really about your childhood and growing up visually impaired, and kind of going through that whole thing. So talk to us about that.
Okay. Well, I started. I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and pretty much, I was born with a visual impairment from some trauma at birth,
Mm,
which caused some scar tissue on my retina. I'm trying to adjust this mic so I get it out of the screen, trying to look professional. But
gotcha.
but anyway, yeah, we so I was born like that, so it was always my normal to see the way I saw. But I my parents got me assistance through the vocational rehabilitation services locally. And so coming up in school, I had to get those bigger books, those big old gray books, and go and get those to read my assignments. And then I would have to have somebody assist me when the overhead was used. I had to have somebody copy down what was up there on a sheet of paper or a bigger sheet of paper, write it bigger so I could see.
Hmm.
So I had to do a lot of that, and the counselor had to would come and get me out of class and take me around and stuff to see what I could see and help me with what you call it,
Adaptive.
adaptive,
Yeah.
yeah, adaptive technology. So that was what I experienced coming up in elementary, middle school and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so I started playing the violin at 10 years old when I was in the fifth grade, and music became something that was just captivating for me, and I just just got engulfed in it. And one of the things from learning music, I I learned to read. I could see well enough to be able to read, but I would have to get close to the page in order to read it. And I didn't realize it. It was like, once again, you don't really realize what you're doing until somebody else points it out. And you know how other kids are, they'll make fun of you and stuff like that. And so I dealt with a lot of that, but it was one of those things. Even going out throughout high school, we would call it high siding. So you would get real good at high siding. People talk
Okay.
about, if somebody was heavier, talk about them being fat. If they was short, we talk about them being short. If they was too dark or dark, we talk about them being dark. Light skin.
Right.
Anything.
That was anything.
That was anything, you would learn to high side. So we would go back and forth with different guys, but it was all fun.
Right, right. So the reading part, were you not able to read music as well? Did you have to get close up on that, or was that even harder than reading textbooks?
um yeah, reading the sheet music, yeah, I'd have to get close to read it. And of course, if it was going fast, it would be a challenge to capture everything, when the tempo is fast. So what I would have to do is, during the rehearsal, I would listen to the person next to me,
Hmm.
and, listen to what they played. And then I'd gradually just remember it. And so the thing about me, when we would have those rehearsals and stuff, after going over stuff over and over and over, I would have the part memorized anyway.
Okay.
So I could remember my part without the sheet music, because it was kind of a slower process anyway for me to read it and recall it. So
Mm.
so that became, my norm, to listen to stuff by ear and memorize it. And so I remember when we learned our solo and ensemble pieces back when I was 10 and 11. I would do those contests, and I would get ones, from playing the violin piece. And I memorized all of those pieces. And
Hmm.
so the same thing when I started playing saxophone. I was doing the same stuff, just learning by ear and reading a little bit. I say a little bit. I could read, and I was in later in big bands and stuff like that in college. And whereas, I had to get faster with remembering music and picking
Hmm.
up music. So when it came to soloing over changes, I was cool, because I could hear it, and just over the years, from picking up stuff by ear, and having a process of how I go about it. When I listen to music, I have a whole process and how I organize things to visualize it, and
Okay.
so from doing that over the years, I've just gotten real fast.
Got you. Was music something that came natural to you? Did you see that as a natural talent, or did you have to still work pretty hard at it?
Man, I saw it as natural, but I worked hard too.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I worked hard too, and I was talking about. I know, this is the second go around, but I was talking about how I recorded everything.
Right.
And so I had a tape player, and I would take the tape player on rehearsals, and I would record the rehearsal, and then I would go back. Most of the time, right after I got out of rehearsal, I would listen to it.
Okay.
And then when I got home, I would just sit and listen to it and just scan over everything that we had just done, and I would practice it. Of course,
Okay.
when you're a kid, you have more time, to just focus on playing.
Okay.
And so that's what I did. I would just listen, practice, and record. And that was like it was a pretty, what do you call it? It was a big um, influence on my personal development.
Okay. Got you. And so yeah, I whenever I get texts now, it got me gun shy because I'm thinking they're gonna say that they can't hear you. So the audio's good, so we good
Okay.
this time. And I was nervous because I'm like, man, this is crazy. So I got
Where's
you.
the link? Can I share with my folk?
Yeah, youtube.com/Fedora Outlier LLC.
Okay. Okay.
Yep. Yep. Um, so we got kind of your earlier portion of your life. So you were big in church, and I would imagine you did a lot of playing in church. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you from the last interview was when you were playing in church, the applause is different than the real world. Everybody's encouraging you and telling you, man, this was, awesome. How did the difference between the performances at church versus maybe something you did in school? How did that kind of affect your playing?
Well, in church, they're very encouraging, even if you don't sound good. They'll encourage you to they'll encourage you to let the Lord use you, baby.
Oh yeah.
Amen. Like doing your Easter speech.
My name is Lil Daryl.
Right. Right. Go on, baby. Say your speech or sing your song. That's all right.
Right.
So they were very encouraging. And I was very eager to learn and play with the choir and, and play with the band. So I would have my saxophone on the front pew
Mm-hmm.
while the organ, drums, and sometimes we had a bass player, guitar player, but as they would play, I would just sit on that front row and play.
Mm-hmm.
And every Sunday, that's how I really grew my sound and what they say, cut my teeth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and so in school it was good. In school it was more, I guess, kind of more professional, and but it was very, you had more variety. Of course, you could play classical stuff, you could learn different songs of different styles and jazz, and
Right.
I was in a jazz band in middle school, so it was really fun. We had fun. I would have solos and stuff like that. Even, of course, going into high school, we had a good jazz program or a jazz band, and I ended up, getting solos my freshman year. And but of course, it was kind of competitive to a certain degree
Right.
in high school. But at the same time, I had so much of a hunger and desire to grow where I'd surpassed, all of the saxophonists, and pretty much a lot of the musicians there. It was a few others that had that type of, what do you call it? The virtuosity
Mm-hmm.
or type ability. We had some great musicians, and so that class, I would say, class of '98, we had a lot of talented guys. We have even guys who are now like actors and
Wow.
doing things in the industry. So, but anyway, yeah, it was both worlds I got exposed to. Of course, in church, the motive is to play for God and lift up lift up a song that's vertical. It's kind of, you're doing it as a praise and worship unto God.
Right.
And in school, It's more, like I say, horizontal. It's more for the people, or more, you get more of an educational or intellectual takeaway from it, you know.
Okay.
So it's good. I had, to have those both have both of those experiences.
Got you. You play in church now? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
not
still play.
okay.
I still play in church. I play mostly now soprano, and I play the iwi.
Okay. Okay. Wonder why was that done on the Iwi?
Yeah, definitely. Wonder why it was. I connected to the Model D, the Behringer Model D, to get that Moog sound.
Okay. Behringer
Yeah.
Model D. What is the Model D?
The Model D it's like it's a thing. It's like a analog synth
Okay.
thing that you can plug into MIDI. And if you're familiar with the Moog, the mini Moog,
Okay.
like Stevie Wonder used, and
Got you.
Bernie Worrell and Funkadelic's Parliament and them,
Okay. Okay.
they would use that Moog sound in the 70s. And so I can do the same thing and control it with the iwi.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Let me switch courses for a little bit. There's, especially based on the last interview, a lot of people with children that are visually impaired and they want to aspire to be actors and musicians and things like that. One question, and then give them a word of encouragement of what you think they should do in today's time to get through it. But the question is, what were some of the barriers outside of being able to read in a normal fashion did you encounter kind of growing up and trying to break into your own? And then how would you encourage the youth today to make it happen?
I would say, you know, I would say most of it might be just perception from and social view of others that might affect, kids' self-esteem, and whereas they feel like, oh man, I can't be a part of this, or I can't do what everybody else is doing, and then they can perhaps look at that as a negative thing.
Mm.
But for me, it was more so, it this was my normal, and I just did what I had to do, or did what I was interested in. So most of the time I was practicing playing basketball, or recording. My dad had a video recorder, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come back, circle around
Gotcha.
to the question. So I had a video recorder. So my dad bought a video camera, and I would take the camera and record us playing ball in the backyard, and then I would take the tape and put it into the VCR, and I put another tape in the video camera and record the TV, and kind of commentate over what we had been doing.
Okay.
So, but the point is, my dad bought my saxophones. He got me things that kept me engaged, and where I was able to be creative and explore different things, just because of my dad just paying attention to what I was into.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into bowling too, so he would take me bowling and recording that. So really, it was more so, I would say, the parent just focusing on what their kid is into and nurturing that, because of course, your best support and confidence and everything is going to come from in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're insulated with that, because you have a good good foundation, or you have good parents and stuff, or if you're a parent and you're making sure that you're nurturing the gifts and talents of your child, then it kind of builds up their confidence, self-esteem, and all of those things, so that when they go out and get around others, it doesn't affect them as much when a kid might talk about them, or a kid or somebody might say something, or they don't have a. See, I didn't feel. Of course, to a certain degree, you feel left out, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I think because the way that my life was crafted and what I did with my time, it actually put me ahead of the game. Whereas
Mm.
most people wouldn't spend hours and hours focusing on recording and playing an instrument or learning how to play songs and stuff like that. The average kid wasn't doing what I was doing. So when you put a person like that around the other average kids, then you'll see the difference,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in ability. And it's just like in everything, sports too. I mean, it was phenomenal. I grew up in Fort Worth. It was a really good college, well, high school that was known for their basketball, Dunbar High School. And
Okay.
of course, I played ball, so you could tell the cats who had been putting a lot of time into practicing and playing ball,
Mm-hmm.
because they would be killing. They'd be
Right.
killing everybody. You couldn't stop them. And so, it's just like in anything, when you are able to focus on one particular thing and not um, focus on what everybody else is doing, but just focus on what you have a passion for, and let the parent, and the parent nurtures that, then, they'll get through middle school, high school, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But you're talking about something, a foundation that's going to be laid for the rest of their life to be on. And so I think it's all a matter of perspective, because, the enemy, of course, will use other kids to try and make them feel like they're not, or make them feel negatively about how they are and everything like that. But that's where that's when I talked about this last time. When I talked with my mom about it, because I was just praying and believing God for my healing,
Mm-hmm.
and then she brought up a scripture, 2 Corinthians 12:9, and said, "For my grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, should I boast in my infirmities, setbacks, reproaches, for where I'm weak, then I'm made strong."
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole thing is a matter of perspectives. So, this thorn in the flesh that Paul struggled with, that God didn't take, he was humble enough to okay, accept it, because he had, his insight for the gospel and the things of God was, he was able to write, a third of the New Testament,
Right. Right.
and so looking at that and then looking at my situation, whereas it's like looking at the glass half full or half
Half
empty.
empty.
And so it's always a matter of looking at what you have and knowing who you are, who God has created you to be. And really, when you keep that right attitude and perspective, then you'll flip the whole thing, because you don't want to be where the status quo is anyway,
Right. Right.
when
Right.
it's all said and done. You want to be ahead of the curve. And it's interesting because your name is Outliers,
Mm-hmm.
and it reminded me of that book by
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, where
Mm-hmm.
he talk about the 10,000
10,000
hours.
hours. Yeah.
Mm.
That's where I got that from. I probably have about 70 fedoras. And
Okay.
I just read that book, and it was like at the worst point of my life. And
Hmm.
I talked to a mentor of mine, and I asked her, how can I just became totally blind as well. Um,
Mm.
and I was like, how do I make it in this world? What do I do?
Yeah.
I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars before I went blind. How do I do the same thing in complete darkness? And she said, use your talent to
Mm.
help people. And my talent was technology. But of course, my question was, well, how can I help somebody if I don't have anything to give? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, just take the time out and think about it. And so I put together this cruise. I called it a Family and Friends Empowerment Cruise. And I gathered all my friends together and I said, we're going on a cruise. And I knew
Mm-hmm.
if I can get 10 cabins, then mine would be free, hence the no money part. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was able to do that. And I was on the top deck and I was asking people around me, I was like, Fedora Outlier or Outlier Fedora? Which one sounds better? And everybody said Fedora Outlier. And so my technology company started, that was 11 years ago. And that's how that all came about. But yeah, you were saying, I'm sorry, Outliers.
Yeah. But no, but I was just thinking about it because those they studied the people who were successful, and they studied how they were raised and like what era were they did they come up in,
Mm-hmm.
and so what was the launching point, like what was in the beginning to cause them to have the trajectory that they had,
Yeah, yeah.
and so it was very interesting. And I remember I think it was Bill Gates, and how they had bought him a computer, or bought him, he was somewhere where all he did was just
Was in
work
around
on the
computers.
computer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it mentioned some other people in there, and then it just made me think about myself. And I think the more you're educated and the more you are aware of what you are actually doing, then it really excels the exploration. Because I remember I was practicing, I would practice all the time, and like 8 hours a day, 4 to 8 hours a day. Yeah. And then when I was at school, I would even skip class and go to the band hall and practice. So, and then after school, as soon as class was out, I would get to the band hall and practice. So I was just always practicing,
Got
you
you.
know.
Got you. So now you be in the shed practicing. Where is that?
This here at my house, I have a studio I built. I had built in the garage.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Yeah, and to me, you be doing some pretty complicated licks and stuff. I be like, what? What is he talking about? Hold on. Oh man, I'm like, okay, well, I can't wait to get to that point. So you got music out. You released a couple of singles this year. How can people get those and be able to listen to them, purchase them, and all that good stuff?
Okay, so what I've done here recently, I have a number. I got a number where people can actually text me. It's in the easier way to remember it is textquamon.com. So
Okay.
TEXTQUAMON.com. And you can text hashtag or text single, and you'll get an automated reply with the link to the latest single. Okay, so what I was trying, and I wanted to actually do it this way just to get a chance to know who it is that is a supporter of my music, so we can converse. Even like yourself,
Right.
you text me through there. So on iTunes and Spotify and all those places, they're great because you can reach people all over the world. But at the same time, for us, we don't have any of that data. Like, we don't know who's listening. We can see the country or whatever. Maybe if you go into the look at the analytics or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm talking about to actually know your name and know where you're from and be able to tell you thank you.
Right.
That's really why I got it. I've been doing it this way, and so my strategy pretty much has been to release these singles through the phone so that I can get people to opt in so that I can know who they are. But yeah, you can get it through there. Also, my stuff is up there. I got CDs that I've released over the years on Spotify and iTunes. Just look for my name, Quamon Fowler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. How would you describe, number one, your tone, and number two, the type of music that you play?
My tone, how would I describe my tone? And the type of music I play. Okay. Okay, since I'm a marketer, I'll reverse engineer it,
Okay.
because everybody ask you what does your music sound like.
Right.
So it's soulful, it's authentic, it's inspirational and spiritual. And so I did a survey like a couple years back, and I asked people, "What is it? What does my music sound like?" And those are some of the key words that I would hear all the time. It's soulful, it's authentic, it's organic, it's spiritual, inspirational, smooth. All of those keys.
Okay.
And so really, that really groovy is another. So with my upbringing, in the church, and then learning jazz and having technique and having language vocabulary as to be able to play bebop and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but also to be able to groove and play stuff that feels good. I kind of married all of those things together. And being from Texas, it's all about being soulful and playing from your heart. And
Okay.
so I got my nickname Texas Tenor really from my teacher Rochella Parks, who Rochella Parks, Washington now, but she was a local saxophonist, and she had a really big sound on tenor, and that was just the thing. People like Shelley Carroll from here, and also Ornette Cobb from Houston, and Marshall Ivory, James Clay, David Fathead Newman. These were Texans, and so all of these guys had big sounds and were soulful. So I kind of learned a lot of that and made sure that I stayed true to that tradition. But because I was into technology like yourself, and when the EWI came around, I was like, oh yeah, this is the missing piece.
Right.
So I implemented that into the mix too.
Okay. Got you. Got you. And you can definitely hear all of those attributes in the music for sure. So your survey gave you some accurate responses, I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you wrote a book, and it's a very different book, still related to music and spirituality. I'm gonna switch camera angles and send a text, but can you talk to me and the people about the book and how what inspired you and how they can find those copies of the book?
Okay. Man, I messed around and I'm trying to find you because I can't see you.
Huh.
Okay. I just needed to pull my screen up, I think. Uh, okay. So, you said talk about the book.
Yep, pretty much.
Okay. So, my book I wrote is called The Christian Musician: Learn what your real gift is and how to succeed with and beyond your music. And so this was something that was really pressing on my heart to do.
Mm.
Um, just because, I'd gotten a chance to travel around the world playing, and I'd struggle with really my identity and really knowing um, who, how I was supposed to do what I was supposed to do, because that's the thing when you're told your music is a gift, like you got a gift, you need to be playing all over the world, God is going to use you to share your gifts all over the world. And so when you're a kid and you hear that, you think it's just music that you're supposed to be doing. But, and then that's what I believed for a long time. That's what I'm just supposed to be doing, just music. But the thing we don't think about, we tend to get so, well, I would say it like this: the system of this world and the path we decide to subscribe to is not the path that God would have for us. So I grew up watching, PBS and seeing Wynton Marsalis and Branford Marsalis and James Carter, Joshua Redmond. I would see them on the festivals and on the stages, and I did competitions and programs, preparing musicians to go and play, and travel, be a traveling musician. So I went through all of those things. And of course, even in school, they prepare you to just go out there and just play and get gigs and just do your thing and see whatever comes of it.
Right.
And so I subscribe to that. But at the same time, you get out there and you play with these musicians. A lot of these musicians are struggling outside of once they get off the stage, whether it be, drugs or sexual stuff, whatever it is. And then I would see that and I was like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to get wrapped up in all this, then because I got married at 22.
Okay.
So I was traveling, ripping and running all over the place, and it was really hard. And this what really led up to me starting a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now online. And so at 2009, that was like my turning point, because we had finished our school in Lubbock. My wife had finished up her PhD. I finished up my master's, and we were moving back to Fort Worth. So when we moved back, they broke into our place and they stole all my horns and they stole my wife's computer. This was in 2009. So at that point, it was kind of bittersweet because we was moving back. She finished her PhD, and the previous year I won the Thelonious Monk competition. I won third place in it.
Okay.
And so it was almost like I came to the end of myself, where I'd accomplished all this stuff. I released a bunch of, CDs and stuff, and I've been known. I've been traveling and playing, and then I won this competition. I had some endorsements, and then they broke in and they stole my horns, and I was just like, Lord, man, what is going on? It's like, I couldn't buy a house in my name, because when you're a musician, you're an independent contractor. You got stuff all over the place. Right. It's not consistent.
Yep.
And so, I just remember thinking about the scripture: if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. And so a week later, my wife's uncle, who's a minister, was telling me about another minister that was actually about to start his church, and I had been following him anyway. It was Pastor G. Craig Lewis.
Okay.
So I ended up hooking up with him, and I went to the church, and then that was like when everything really started to be put in its proper place. He helped me to see that, what God has for you and the way that he wants to do it is not the way that you thought. And so first of all, I had to understand that, God loves us for who we are, away from our talent and our ability. And your confidence, like I was talking about, my confidence really came from my father,
Right.
you know. And so all of those things, and then when you think about it. It's like, as a father, his role is to protect his family, be there, the priest, the protector, and provider for the home.
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced that, and I saw that. And so I was married. I'm still married,
Right. Right.
but I got married in 2003. But I'm just seeing that I needed to be more than just a great musician to people that I didn't know. You know,
Mm.
I needed to be a great man to my wife, and preparing things so that I can be a great father. And so at that point, I really started looking at, okay, I need to get paid. Like, if I can't get a regular job like everybody else, so I had a master's degree, so I could teach on the college level, but I was just trying to figure out how to put all of these pieces together. But the main key that came out of me aspiring to write that book was, what is your real gift? It's not your music ability; it's the way you think. Music is just one avenue by which your giftedness is displayed through. So I was just thinking about, what's up? Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear anybody on my computer. I can't hear my students.
Oh, you on Skype?
I'm on Blackboard Collaborate, so I can't. When I press the volume up on your
Just
computer,
turn off the audio interface. The black button on the power. Just turn it off.
where is it?
It's right under the desk. So the black,
I'm sorry.
yeah. So yeah, where the black thing is, like on the right under the monitor,
Mm-hmm.
where you see the power switch to the right. Just turn it off, and then it should switch to the built-in microphone. Sorry about that.
No problem.
She teaches, so she has students that she teaches on Blackboard.
Okay. Got you. Yeah, I was gonna say, man, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so whatever we get is great content. So
Yeah,
technical support at its finest.
right.
Got you.
Uh,
So you were talking about the book and the impetus behind it.
yeah. So yeah, our giftedness is the way we think. And then one of the things my pastor was telling me is like, Quamon, you make your music with your mind, not with make your money with your mind, not with your music.
Right.
And so that really inspired me to, oh man, so I need to write this book,
Mm.
because the way that I think influenced the way that I play.
Right.
The way that you think influence the way that you lead.
Mm-hmm.
As a teacher, people want to study with you because the way you think. And so I started seeing it. So I needed to capture the way I thought in a book.
Right.
And so I did it, and I was able to put it out there, and I started. Well, I'd already been learning about entrepreneurship and different ways to monetize what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was studying like information marketers.
Yeah.
And so they are really good with creating courses and doing groups, mastermind groups, and putting out these different products and services based on the experience that they had. And so anybody can do that.
Right.
It doesn't matter what niche you're in. Everybody has a story, and everybody is good at something.
Right. Yep.
But you just got to see it like that. Sometimes we can be so focused on one thing that we miss, other opportunities. And but anyway, that's what it's really about. It talks about my life story, and it shares how I overcome different challenges and struggles. And I wanted to encourage other musicians because I saw a lot of talented cats were just stuck and kind of trapped
Okay.
by their phenomenal ability.
Gotcha. Got you. That makes sense. A lot of
Uh,
sense. Um,
Hold on, I gotta fix this in the
I'm
garage.
so sorry.
Hold on a second.
okay.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Wow. There's a guy in it. It's okay.
No, I'm so sorry.
What's up, everybody? We're taking a break just briefly while we wait for Quamon to come back. It is a pandemic, and his daughter is trying to get her platform up and running and needs dad's help. So he's stepped out for a second. I am going to check something on the video stream. Hopefully, you guys can see and hear me. Okay, well, both of them are selected. Alright.
All right. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
I was working on my computer. She likes to use my computer because it's a faster connection. I got an iMac.
Okay.
And so she has a class that she teaches through Blackboard Connect. But I was working on a song this morning, and I left my interface on, so she didn't know how to
Turn it off.
get it back. Yeah.
Get it back to the normal state of household
Yeah.
use. Got you. Got
Yeah.
you.
So
Um,
yeah.
Good. So the book, where can people find that?
That's available on Amazon. You can just search the Christian musician with my name. Like I've seen more books come out on that topic now,
Mm.
but yeah, just search on Amazon. It's on um, format for Kindle. Um, it's a physical book that you can get, and then you can also get the audio book. I released the audio book um, like a year or so ago.
Okay.
So it's on Audible.
Got you. And you mentioned two websites. I know one was Texas Tenor Music Academy, and they can find, and you'll tell us what they can find there. And there was one more website that you mentioned that you have, and if you can share that one and what they can find on that website as well.
So I guess the main one was QuamonFowler.com.
Okay.
That's my main website. And here recently, I had been doing creating loops, and that website is jazzloops.com. So there, I just provide loops that musicians and producers can use to inspire them in their productions and songwriting. So, because I use that, to help inspire some of my stuff. I think my video hadn't been on.
Yeah. I thought maybe I turned it off when you had brought me up or did something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well,
That's I
remember, you're
was
talking
looking.
to mostly blind people, so
Oh.
as long as we got the audio, I think we good.
Oh, that's the truth.
Yeah, we'll work on good quality video in a future date, because I know you're gonna have more stuff coming out, other stuff being released, all that good stuff. Actually, you said you was working on another song. Have you come up with a title and a concept for that yet?
Uh, well, I actually, I mean, I got a few. Oh, this morning, yeah, I was doing. I just called it Victory.
Okay.
So I've been streaming live. That's something cool you can check out too. So I didn't mention this. So
Okay.
my YouTube channel is Jazz Web Shed. So look for Jazz Web Shed, um, and you can subscribe there. And I've been going live. You know, I've been doing it last few days consistently. Usually I'll skip 1 or 2 days throughout the week, but um, I stream live and I just show how I create music on the spot, over a drum loop.
Okay.
This morning I focused on um, just creating from the melody a melody that I heard, and so I did that this morning. So you can definitely go and check that out and subscribe there.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, let's end with your social media, and besides the websites and the YouTube channel, where else can individuals who wants to reach out, can they find you?
I'm on Instagram too. It's Quamon Fowler, QUAMONFOWLER, and yeah, I mentioned my website is the same, and that's again, if you want to get the latest single, I have Wonder Why, and I put up a video of it. I have a YouTube channel where it's for my personal brand, and I'll put my podcast up there,
Okay.
and as well as some music. That's Texas Tenor, TEXAS10ER, and TEXAS10ER. You can check out that YouTube channel. But I'm always posting on Facebook and stuff. I'm always trying to keep people engaged and you know creating content.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Cool, cool. Well, man, honestly, I definitely appreciate you giving this a try the first time, and now the second time. I think that we got everything according to everybody that's chiming in. So outside of that, we got where we can reach you, and hopefully you attracted some more new fans, and it'll help you to put out more and more content now and in the future.
Well, I appreciate you for thinking about me, and glad to be able to do it and share with your audience there.
Cool, man. Definitely appreciate it. All right, go ahead and hang up on me, and I'll hit you some type of way via text, and we'll make the next step happen, whatever that may be.
Okay, appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, what's up, everybody? It's Vashaun Jones, visionary of Fedora Outlier LLC. That has just been the interview with Mr. Quamon Fowler. Get it right, Vashaun. You guys know the deal. It's let's change the world, and let's change the world